be mindful, this chapter review, this chapter discussion, whatever you want to call it, this will be a lot of rambling and just me putting my thoughts out there because this chapter was the best chapter since 957, and one could argue it's better for the end game of the series. It's so much in this chapter to talk about. I really don't know where to start. The cover story, I really didn't read it in English because if you guys don't know, the normal places where we get our chapters, they're shut down. They're discontinuing providing these chapters. And the reason for this is that they feel like it's a new era and they're going to try to focus on the Viz translations or have us focus on the Viz translations, which is the official translations that come out on Sundays when the chapter is available. I read this chapter somewhere else. So for people that want to read the chapter, I'll put the link to my Discord in the description box down below, or actually I'll pin it in a comment. Go to the Discord and you will find the chapter. With that being out of the way, One Piece chapter 966 was legendary. I made my prediction video for 966 and I had a lot of hype to it and I wanted a lot of hype. It exceeded my expectations. Even though I didn't get everything I wanted, it exceeded my expectations. First off, something I wanted, a Rayleigh and Oden clash, just to see where they were in comparison to each other. We didn't get that. But I didn't care because the chapter starts off and Oden just blitzes two of Roger's crewmates and they get overwhelmed and they're like, well, oh my God, Oden is really strong, which is typical. I don't expect regular crewmates to be able to handle someone like Oden. But then after, we got an amazing panel, which is reminiscent to a Zoro and Sanji panel, in which we see Rayleigh and Scopper. And then Scopper says to Rayleigh, hey, should we cut him into pieces? And Rayleigh says, fine by me. I think Oda is definitely characterizing this crew a lot like the Straw Hats because Rayleigh is definitely Zoro and Scopper is definitely Sanji. It just looked beautiful. And Scopper, again, we haven't gotten a lot of him. When we saw him back then, like the Ed War, he looked a lot more muscular and bigger. Oda has definitely changed his design a bit more, but I gotta say, I really like this design better. He looks a bit more svelte, a Sanji body type, and he uses two axes. That's really dope to see. I don't know if they have the relationship like Zoro and Sanji, but at least it just reminded me of Sanji and Zoro. A funny gag after that is when Roger decides to run between them and say, hey, you know what? You guys stand back. I don't want two of my best people to get hurt, or two of my best men, my two best men, he says, to get hurt. And Rayleigh picked up on it and said, you just want to face him for yourself. And this is the Goku gag where Goku, he wants to fight strong opponents and unknown opponents, so he takes them for himself. So this was really cool to see because Oda is now characterizing Roger. One of the most epic panels in all of One Piece, I would say, because Oden does say he senses the aura of a wild beast, right? But then Roger says, hey, samurai, and uses an attack called Kamusari. Oden is powerful, right? And Roger did a slash and completely sent him back. Oden bounces right back up and takes off running. Power scaling item. Luffy at this moment, he's obviously stronger than when he went against Kaido, but when Luffy went against Kaido, he got one shot. Oden took a full-blown slash from the Pirate King and got up like it was nothing. Oden back then is definitely above where Luffy is right now. Even he's older, obviously, but I'm just saying, quick power scaling nugget. But this was epic. We got a panel in which the Pirate King used a named attack. We have never seen anything like that from Roger or any of the prominent pirates in One Piece. And in this chapter, before the epic clash between Whitebeard and Roger, we see them about to wind up for their attack. And I'm not sure if you guys watch Black Clover. Roger looks like he's about to use an attack like Yami from Black Clover. Whitebeard has the Ryo just escaping his blade, and they have an insane clash. But the thing is, with this clash, it looks like a battle of wills and haki and conquerors all into one because they aren't even touching. That's how amazing that clash was. A clash like this, we never thought we would see based on how Oda does things. Think about it. We haven't seen a clash from Akainu and Aokiji, from the War for Fleet Admiral. A clash between Whitebeard and Roger. Can you fathom that? That is amazing. I absolutely loved seeing this, and then it's given us an idea as to the type of fighter Roger is. At first, I never really characterized Roger as a swordsman, even though every time we saw him, he had a sword. He didn't seem like the type. It seems like he just liked throwing hands, like he was a brawler. Roger came in with his sword, which is really cool. I really liked it. This obviously leads to the Black Blade discussion, which I won't have right now, but expect a video on that next week, where I'll talk about the significance of a Black Blade, which to me, while it's significant, the Pirate King didn't have a Black Blade, but that never stopped him. That did not deter his dream. He was still all powerful, but we'll talk about that another time. But I really want us to understand exactly where we are. This is the end game of One Piece. We're seeing a clash between Gold Roger or Gold D Roger and Whitebeard. The relationship between Whitebeard and Roger is one of respect. I don't think they were going easy on each other, but they're both so damn strong. To truly kill or cause great harm to each other, it would take days to do so. And we saw that when they had a battle between the the Whitebeard pirates and the Roger pirates, and it took 3 days. And even then, it wasn't a true conclusion. It seems like as powerful as Rayleigh, Scopper, and those guys were, Whitebeard had some formidable people on his crew as well, in which the Pirate King and his crew, they couldn't overwhelm the Whitebeard pirates. It's said that the battle lasted 3 days and 3 nights, with the upper hand constantly shifting from side to side. We always think about Rayleigh and how powerful he is, but they said they've met before, and it's never been a fitting conclusion. It's really an amazing thing, but it's hard to rationalize because 3 days, 3 nights, there's no way to really think about that logically, right? No one fighting for 3 days and 3 nights. I believe they would have rest based on the camaraderie between the crews. They seem to get along in a weird way, where it's not like a death match between the two. It's not like if Kid and Luffy met on the sea. It's somewhat like if Law and Luffy met. They would have an intense fight, or if Shanks and Luffy met. It would be a full-on fight. I'm not talking about right now because Luffy, I don't think he's on Shanks's level yet. But if Luffy and Shanks, both Yonkos, they met, they would have a good fight, but then they would feast at the end of it. And that's what happened here. Selfishly, I wanted a fitting conclusion, which I knew we weren't going to get because you can't have the Pirate King lose or the strongest man in the world lose. These two men are both great, and of course a tie or a truce, that makes the most sense. But at the end, after the fight, 4 days later, we see the banter between the two, and Rayleigh's just like, this has become a gift exchange. We see Vista standing there. It's a cool sight. Again, this is Whitebeard and Roger's cruise. It's really hard to fathom. One of the more interesting parts of the chapter revolved around Teach. A young Blackbeard has joined the crew, so I was completely wrong on that. Blackbeard is on the crew. He was on the crew with Odin, and now there's even more mystery around Blackbeard. I'll say this here. I'm not going to get too deep into the Blackbeard stuff because that's its own video. The mystery of Blackbeard and everything surrounding him, however, Blackbeard says here, are the boys over their apprentices, and he's talking about Shanks and Buggy. Marco and Jozu answer, and they say they've been there for a while. They don't look strong, but their attitude is quite impressive. Then Buggy says, hey Shanks, did you see that guy with the hat? He didn't sleep during the truce we had for the last few days. I heard he's never slept in his life. And Shanks says, how is that even possible? I'm jealous. You would have twice as much time to enjoy your life if you didn't need to sleep. And Buggy says, it's not that simple, idiot. He's a monster. Monster is a very appropriate way to put it. Not sleeping for days is an insane thing to do. Again, the Blackbeard stuff, it's a lot to it now, and it's increasing the lore and the mystery of what Blackbeard is as a character, but seeing the beginning of this thing between Blackbeard and Shanks. When you think about Marineford again, and how Shanks was towards Blackbeard, my God, man, it brings more emotion to those moments. It brings more emotion to Shanks asking Blackbeard, hey, do you want to go at it? It brings more emotion to Shanks getting scarred by Blackbeard at some point. We don't know, but it happened. But Blackbeard back then, he was being called a monster. Stay tuned to my Blackbeard video, guys, because I have a lot to say about this guy, but it deserves its own video. The endgame stuff we got between Roger, Whitebeard, and Odin. Roger's talking to Odin about the ancient language, and he says he can translate it and he can read it. Odin explains that the symbols, their secret code. The way to decode them was passed from generation to generation to the firstborn of the Kozuki clan from Wano. At first, when you read this, it's like, when was Odin? When did Odin, someone like this, based on his personality, even have the time or want to learn things like this? But then you think about it, and Odin, he got detained at the quarry for a while, and he rose to the stonemason chief. So back then, he had various opportunities to learn these different techniques. So it was not crazy knowing that history of what Odin had been through. Roger explains that 13 years ago, at the island of Roadstar, that's when they took it. Seems like a transcript of a poneglyph. He said when they got there, he realized it wasn't the last island, but the log post couldn't help any further because the needles just kept spinning. Roger breaks down what we know about the poneglyphs. They're special stones that lead to the final island, but for him, he felt like he didn't know initially how important they were. And then he mentions the world government saying that they banned the deciphering of the poneglyphs a long time ago, and we know why the world government did that. It's obvious, again, through the history of what we know about One Piece, the world government, they don't want you to reach to the final island because it would uncover certain things. And for Roger, that treasure, that's something that he's chasing, and in his mind, it didn't end it, right? He said after accomplishing that, finding that hidden treasure, they didn't say what he was going to say, but it's obvious. He was going to say, then I'll be the Pirate King. To which they all laugh. Well, Whitebeard and Roger laughed. In my prediction, I said that Odin is going to notice something different about Roger, and it happened immediately. He said that Roger left him speechless twice. That was from the amazing Slash, and now his crazy ambition. I'll get more into Odin and his psyche in regards to Roger, but Roger then asks Whitebeard to loan him Odin for a year, because with Odin deciphering the poneglyphs, he could definitely get to the final island. Roger then does something that it takes a lot of humility and confidence in someone's self and understanding who you are to bow before another man, even though you're asking for a favor. It's adding to the character of Roger. I also like what Oda did when he showed that Roger is bowing to Whitebeard and he shows Scopper saying, "Stop it, Captain, they're our rivals, like we shouldn't do that." In a way, he's starting to remind me a lot of Sanji, Scopper. And that's the obvious inclination that he's Scopper, you know, copper, silver, gold. That's his parallel. But if Luffy ever bowed to someone else, I can see Sanji saying, "Yo, you're the captain, you do not bow." Zoro as well, but Sanji would jump out there, and we see Scopper doing the same thing. But Roger is doing it because he feels like having Odin, and he needs Odin, he can definitely get to the final island. I know for a while people were saying that Odin was not needed on a Roger ship to get to Raftel. It's clear here that Odin was the last and missing piece. I won't compare Odin to Jinbei because people were doing that before, even though, you know, Odin is dead and Jinbei might be dead now. But I'll say this, Odin as a combatant, it's hard to, you know, scale where he is. But I think at that point after getting Odin, it wasn't about crew strength anymore, because he's severely crippling Whitebeard and adding a huge powerhouse to his crew. And from what we know, nobody else could really compete with these two. I think at this point it was just adventure and fulfilling the dream of finding Raftel and becoming the Pirate King, the greatest ever, the one to do things that no other could do. Whitebeard's reaction to it was appropriate, because you're asking Whitebeard to give you one of his family members for you to accomplish your dream. That wouldn't sit well with Whitebeard. It didn't. And we saw in that panel, Whitebeard used his earthquake or his heaven and earth move, where it's shifting the seas. Insane stuff. But Odin says, "I could feel my blood pumping, even though I tried to hide it." What do these stones have to do with the Kozuki clan? I mentioned before, Odin had an urge he couldn't control. He was addicted to adventure, knowing that his abilities to read the ancient language was tied to Roger's goal of finding this hidden treasure that the world government, this huge organization that manages the world that you were fascinated by. Remember, when Whitebeard told him about the organization that controls the world, he was like, what? There's one place that could do that? And this organization, they're trying to stop this man from getting to this island? I can't help myself. I have to go. And he said he couldn't even think straight. He said, "I want to go. Let me go with them." And it was comedy after that, because Whitebeard gave him the face that, you know, we fall in love with this flashback. And Whitebeard said, "Well, we're brothers, man. I hate the idea." And then he hits him with his famous, "But it's only for a year, Whitey-chan, please." You know, I love their relationship because Whitebeard sees him as a brother, but I really loved Odin being true to himself, understanding who he was. Of course, this was inevitable. This was what he was going to do. But how it played out was great. It didn't feel like an ass pull. It didn't feel like something that was out of nowhere. It felt like really in line with Odin's character and how we've seen him from the beginning of the flashback. He is stuck on adventure. He's stuck on finding out purpose. And with this, it was right in front of him. And with Roger, his personality, his charisma, Odin is normally the one winning people over. This time, there was someone even more charismatic than him, stronger than him, that completely stunned him, where he felt like, I have to follow that man. Our ambitions are aligned. Some people were saying that it could have been a Davy back. I thought that would have been very underwhelming based on just how hype this moment was. If you turned it into a Davy back, it would lose the importance of this moment. If Odin only joined Roger because they lost a Davy back, and then somehow he happened to be the perfect person to help Roger get to Raftel, it wouldn't feel genuine. And again, I liked it because Odin's heart was in it, and that's why he decided to join Roger's crew. Odin says Whitey-chan is great, but Roger's incomparable. Quickly with that, based on the type of person Odin was, him and Whitebeard, they weren't as compatible, because Whitebeard wasn't chasing the dream. His dream was family, and Odin was dreaming a bit bigger than that. Of course, now he had a family, so Whitebeard obviously influenced him, in addition to, of course, coming across Toki as well. But Roger, powerful, charismatic, ambitious. His goals tying in with the history of the Kozuki. Everything Roger was is who Odin aspired to be, outside of the family stuff. But then the first moment we see Odin on Roger's ship, we see Roger holding his baby, as well as Rayleigh, which is showing that this family dynamic is somehow influencing Roger too. But as far as Roger and what he represented, there was no question that he was a greater man than Whitebeard. And that's not to put Whitebeard down, but Odin just wanted more. That's just simply what it is. While even further trying to characterize Scopper Gaban, he had the moment in which it's eerily similar to when Jinbei was joining the Straw Hat crew, and then, you know, Sanji had that moment with Nami where he was talking about Jinbei and how Jinbei should commit seppuku because of what Arlong did to Nami. Scopper says to Odin, "You're only here because of your knowledge. That's it. We won't accept you as fast as he did, bro." And then after one mission, they're chanting Odin, Odin, which makes sense because Odin is charismatic in his own right. But that's the stance I expect a crew to have. Like, we're not going to accept you right away. You have to earn your right with us. And he did that pretty quickly. Crocus tells us that Roger has 1 year to live. We see them go to Sky Island, and we see the panel that we saw back then with Nico Robin, in which Robin was reading Roger's words. Roger found the stone through the voice of all things, because he says the stone has quite a voice. Odin says there's information about a weapon called Poseidon, and it's written here. And Roger says, write what I say on it. I have come here and will lead this passage to the farthest ends of the world. And we see the exact same panel that Robin was looking at, reading Odin's words. Odin ends off, because at this point, Odin is still writing in his journal. He says, I'm going to the end, Roger. The goal for which you risked your life, the final chapter of your great adventure. This chapter was just phenomenal, man. I mean, the end game stuff of showing Roadstar and the Poneglyphs, some information we knew, but putting it together with the Roger pirates and Odin, tying that all together has been masterful. I knew at some point we would touch on Roger. I didn't expect all of it to come in one flashback. Odin still has a lot of time before he dies because he has to go back to Wano, the whole thing with Orochi, but seeing his moments with Roger and how he seamlessly transitioned from Whitebeard to Roger, this is good shit. I'm so impressed with the story right now and where it's going, because it's carefully navigating through the past and the present, in which you're not giving us too much, but enough to bring more meaning to current events. I love that. Again, power scaling aside, giving us a clash with Roger and Whitebeard, showing us more of Scopper Gaban, giving us some history on Blackbeard's whole feng shui, Shanks and Buggy. I mean, they're always together, man. Like, they were really good friends, which shows that their relationship is like a microcosm of school, right? In high school, where you have like best friends in high school, we're never gonna separate. Then as soon as you guys graduate, you guys don't communicate at all. And so sometimes it's a text or you see them around. That's kind of like what Shanks and Buggy are. Like, they were together on the ship a lot and then don't see each other because, you know, you're living different lives. So I understand that. Whew. Fantastic chapter. This was good, man. I really enjoyed it. But guys, let me know your thoughts. How did you feel about it? What was the most important thing in this chapter to you? Not to the overall of One Piece. What meant the most to you? Leave your thoughts below. Make sure to like the video if you did. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Thank you to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. You can support in the description box down below. You can vote on video ideas, etc., etc. Follow me on Twitter at BragoDAce to stay updated. Follow me on Instagram at BragoD.Ace. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. So many videos coming from this chapter. I promise you, it's so much to talk about. But I appreciate you guys again. Like, subscribe. Catch you in the next one. Peace.